The other issues you've highlighted in your election campaign is the issue of Irish reunification. I mean, how realistic is it? You've talked about making preparations for Irish unity. Is it realistic? Is it something that can happen? I mean, there's no government since the foundation of the state that has, in any real terms, moved forward in any practical policies in terms of Irish reunification. So, I mean, is it a aspiration at this stage, or is it something that can realistically come about?
I think it's actually a very hard-nosed political objective. I mean, clearly there are patriotic reasons and there are justice reasons, and you only to scratch an Irish person, and they would like to see freedom and unity for the entire island and an end to British rule. But you're right. I mean, when have the government come forward, even in fairness to the Unionists, never mind dealing with the British? When have the government come forward with any sort of a strategy, any sort of a programme? Never. And Sinn Féin, from the very point that we get a mandate that we would go into government, we would make that a priority. You also have to, I mean, I've dealt with the British government now for a very, very, very long time, myself and Martin McGuinness and Mary-Lou MacDonald and others in our leadership. And I used to ask Taoiseach, did they ever ask a British Prime Minister, would they bring about Irish reunification? When I asked all of the Taoiseach that I've worked with, from Albert Rannans through John Bruton through to Bertie Ahern. And the only people who have even engaged the British in this issue have been Sinn Féin. And I often say to other Republicans, I mean, why would a British government, even a benign British government, work towards Irish unity when the Irish government isn't making that point to them? Why would Tony Blair, or as we go into a new premiership, Gordon Brown, why would they do it? There's no point to it unless the government makes it policy. So I think it's very, very doable. I think as we bed down political institutions, as people get to work together in terms of the All-Ireland Ministerial Council, as people in the North see the benefits of the Celtic Tiger and the need to twin and to harmonise all Ireland services across a range of issues, it will be a question of what kind of united Ireland. And maybe Republicans will have to dust down some of our old sort of notions about that. But I think it's very, very, very doable, and we're about doing it.
Will it happen in your political lifetime?
Yes. It isn't inevitable. I mean, if there was justice in the world, Ireland would have been free a very, very long time ago. But it won't happen of its own accord. It will only happen if you work at it. I mean, I'm mindful, and let me just make this point as briefly as I can. 10, 15 years ago, I was saying to journalists that there would be a peace process, that there would be agreement between us and the Unionists, that there would be a new dispensation. And that's when Sinn Féin was launching documents at Ardeshina, which the media didn't cover. Whether it was Scenario for Peace, whether it was other pivotal watershed documents that saw support from our Ardesh and from the party membership for different positions that we were putting forward. So people are now a bit incredulous about the fact that Ian Paisley and Martin McGuinness are sitting as equals in a First Minister's office and part of the All-Ireland Council of Ministers. I believe, as Seamus Heaney said, in marigolds and holy wells, but it happened also because of hard work, because of having a vision, because shaping that vision into objectives, developing strategies, developing tactics, making sure our own people were across all of that, reaching out to others, being very patient, being very tenacious, and similarly on social issues and on economic issues, but particularly in this big issue of Irish unity. I think we can get there, and it can happen as quickly. It is not a question of if, it's a question of when. As quickly as we get the mandate and the empowerment to engage. And I think when you see the DUP in power, whatever about their previous utterances, when you see them in Sinn Féin, that's proof of what we've been saying for a long time. People respond to the political conditions in which they live. you have to change the political conditions if you want to change the way people look at things.
You talked about the peace process, and I suppose one of the outstanding issues is the issue of collusion. And I'm minded to think that this Friday marks the 16th anniversary of the death of Eddie Fullerton, one of your councillors in Donegal. How much are you conscious of things like that, of anniversaries of people who lost their lives, in terms of how the Sinn Féin now moves forward?
Well, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the efforts of tens of thousands of people who have kept faith. And we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the great loyalty of families, Republican families who have been bereaved. And sometimes you're very focused. You know that it's the anniversary of Bobby Sands, or you know it's the anniversary of Francie Hughes, or of the people who were killed, the IRA volunteers and others who were killed at Loch Gall. Sometimes other anniversaries surprise you. It comes up at you and you realise that Eddie Fullerton, 16 years, and the family just this week coming forward with information that the RUC at that time said to the guards, we have the names of the people who allegedly or who were rumoured to be involved in the killing of Eddie Fullerton. And in Garda Síochána didn't even ask to question. And yet that family, the Fullerton family, have continued to campaign and continued to be very, very supportive of the peace process. And I mean, it's crucial. When we did the big debate on policing, we did nationwide public meetings, we did internal party meetings right across the island, but we also did a whole series of meetings with the families of those who have been killed, with families of patriots. And for me it was very humbling and very, very gratifying that those people, despite their own suffering, and I include the Fullerton family in this, were prepared to support us embracing a new policing dispensation.
Finally, Mr. Adams, this must be a huge election for Sinn Féin. And you've gone from strength to strength in the city in Dublin over the last number of years. The elections in the north, the fact that you're in a power sharing government with the DUP, are all huge advantages to the party. Can you transfer that momentum now to the south? What do you expect to happen on Thursday? Do you expect substantial gains for the party in the election?
Yes, I do, but you can't take it for granted. I have canvassed extensively right across the state, as have others in our national leadership, alongside local activists and candidates. It's been a huge national effort. Belfast, for example, is twinned with Dublin. People from Tyrone and Fermanagh and Derry, County Down, Armagh are down around other constituencies working away. In the same way, it was a great revelation for me to see people from Wexford and from Roscommon and Galway up in North Antrim and other northern constituencies. So we have made a huge effort. We've fought a good campaign. And however it turns out, I want to thank everybody who has worked for us. And I think we're going to have a good election. There's certainly, and some of the constituencies I have canvassed twice, there's certainly a surge towards Sinn Féin. We can't calculate how that will translate in terms of votes, but I think you'll see our request to be given a mandate to be in government in the south as well as the north being responded to very, very positively by an increasing section of the Irish electorate.